Hello, 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 everyone. Thank you so much for joining us for another great Money Monday. I am Rosalind Brown of Your Wealth Guidance, where we provide tips, tools, and information for Black women to reach their financial independence so you can live life on your own terms. I'm so happy that you joined us today on Juneteenth because this is so symbolic of the conversation that we're going to have today. Juneteenth is a day that we recognize where enslaved Black Americans finally learned that they were free. And how sad is that? Like, continue to work in enslavement when legally you were free. And the same is true today, unfortunately. We are legally free, but so many of us are enslaved by our 9 to 5s, are enslaved by our thought process of limitations on what we can and can't do. We're enslaved by debt, we're enslaved by fear. And so you are free. You're free. You're free today. But some of us just don't know it. And so I'm so happy to have our guest today, Misty Memphis, who's a
Hi.
media influencer who goes by Misty Memphis on the internet. She's an admin for two groups. And she has these successful Facebook groups that do a number of different things. She's been in Jamaica for 13 years. So that's a big one. One of her groups is Black Expats in Negril. So go check that out, join the group. And then Capital Casual of Negril, Jamaica.
Hi.
And so I want to thank you so much for being with us today because when we think about places, I mean, when we think about vacation places, everybody's like, yeah, I want to go to
Right.
Jamaica.
Right.
But people are like, can I live there? Can that be home? How did you make Jamaica home?
So my process was a series of fortunate errors. I really did not plan this. I admire so many of my fellow expats now who have all of these resources and all these great expat groups on the internet to look at and help to guide them. I literally stumbled into this by accident. It was one thing led to another. I retired from teaching. Therefore, my friends told me I was getting on their nerves and I needed to find something to do. So, a friend got me a job working for the airline, which enabled me to fly free. And since I could fly free, I decided I would go to my favorite place multiple serial times. I flew over here once, just had dinner, and flew right back.
Oh my
Stuff
goodness.
like
That's
that.
perfect. I love some
So,
Jamaican food. So
so I'm tearing the sky up, and then all of a sudden I realized, well, now I still have to pay for hotels, and that was bankrupting me. So my friends suggested let's get a apartment and split the cost. So once we got the apartment, now I'm really balling, man. I'm rolling over here, and I got my own place. And one day I was standing out on the balcony, and a friend called and told me, "Enjoy your vacation. It's your last one." They dehubbed Memphis, and all of us have lost our jobs. Delta fired 1,200 and some people in one day.
oh my goodness.
So everything came crashing down. Now I've got this apartment, and I can't flip and flop back and forth. So what I decided to do was, that's okay, no problem. I'll go back to Memphis, pack my little things, buy a one-way ticket, come back, and never leave. And that's what I did. And
Oh wow. I love
that's
how
how I
faith
ended up
works.
living here.
Faith just aligned. Like you weren't committed. And they were like, nope, you're gonna be committed. Now, what was the process like? I know a lot of people talk about finding a place to stay. And so it was great that you had someone to share an apartment with. But what was
Mhm.
the process like just kind of finding housing and figuring out where to settle?
Well, luckily, matriculating on these internet sites, I was on one called Jamaicans.com. And this lady had partnered with a Jamaican guy and built a lovely home that had apartments. And she was always talking about this apartment was for rent, this apartment was free, because people would come and go. Maybe a tenant didn't work out or something like that. And my girlfriend said, call Alice and Ted and see how much they want for that apartment up at their place. And so that's how we got our start. We actually kind of knew the people, you know, and that is kind of how you do it here. You have to kind of boots on the ground and go around and ask people, do you know anybody that's renting? Do you know anybody that's renting? And you kind of stumble upon, I know this sounds horrible, but you kind of stumble up on places here. You have to know somebody who knows somebody. I got somebody settled. just last week.
Oh, wow.
Because I know of a couple of places and I help people get settled, and you can get it. You can get it done, but it takes, like I said, you should come here maybe spend 2 3 weeks looking around, and you'll find something.
And then in terms of people, because people want to visit all the time. So people want to come and vacation. But
Hmm.
in terms of the process of settling, so you got to know somebody to know somebody. I know in some places you got to pay a year in advance. What are, if people are thinking about, okay, I need X amount of dollars in order to make it work, what
Let me
is
tell
the
you what's
baseline?
traditional in Jamaica. They like their first and last month's rent. Whatever the rent price is, you have decided on. You do first and last. You don't have to do a year in advance or anything like that. They're pretty good about that's pretty the standard of the industry. First
Hmm.
month rent and last month, and whatever your last month may be. So um, that's how it works here, basically. Yeah.
So that's pretty good. Now, one thing I know people are always concerned about because they're like, okay, are the utilities going to be something that they can depend on? I feel like people hear stories and they're like, okay, is the power going to go out? Is the water clean? Is it something that they can have reliable, maybe internet to contact their family? Are those things that people should be concerned about?
Okay. We are prone to power failures from time to time. It does happen. I'm not going to lie to you, say it doesn't. But darling, I'm from Memphis, Tennessee, and the power is out all the time in Memphis. Right now, they're having an outage. Okay, the water is very good. The water is some of the best in the Caribbean. As a matter of fact, it reminds me a lot of Memphis water. You can drink it from the tap. You won't catch scurvy. As a precaution, I happen to boil mine and then let it cool off, and then put it through a water filter. But you really don't have to do that. That's just me. Okay. So we have great water. The water actually is off from time to time. So from time to time, and a lot of people that move to Ghana don't know that every single day between 12 o'clock and 4, they turn off everything in Ghana.
Oh, wow.
And see, oh, I'm going to Ghana. I'm going to Mother Africa. And I mean, I'm not downing it. I think it's probably a wonderful place. But every day they conserve by turning it off for 4 and 5 hours, and everybody knows it's coming. They know the hours, so they stock up everything. They be sure that batteries are charged, et cetera, and they just deal with it. So yeah, you're probably not going to have all of those bells and whistles, conveniences of home you're looking for when you go foreign somewhere, but you can deal with it.
Now, what would you say were some of your biggest adjustments in the move? Now, you've been there over a decade, so things have probably progressed and changed and advanced since you've been there. But what were some of the bigger things to say, I wasn't prepared, I didn't think about this?
Okay, I really didn't have anything like that. What kind of happened with me was I just decided that I had to have air conditioning, and I spent $700 having the AC put on in. I've turned it on about 4 times in 6 years. And now when I go places that are air conditioned, if I get in somebody's car with air conditioning or go into a business that has the AC real cold, I can't stand it. I can't deal with it. So I adjusted. It wasn't that it was anything I missed. It was that I adjusted. And I think the biggest thing I love about here is, I'm 71 years old, and 71, Jesus. And I was born in 1951. So I went through the era of the 60s when it was black is beautiful and oh my brother, my sister. And we were one. We were one people, and we loved each other and we spoke to each other. And then something happened. And we stopped acknowledging each other, and we started staying in our own lanes, and we stopped making eye contact. And when you come to Jamaica, it's just like stepping back in time, because everybody greets you, everybody talks to you, everybody says good morning, good afternoon, good night. They ask you if you're okay. A complete stranger. You okay? You okay, miss? You all right? And you're not invisible. In America, I feel invisible. Over here, I am seen.
Oh, I
And
love that.
it's it's just a beautiful thing. It is a beautiful thing. And so my adjustments have been um sharpening up my manners, because you have to use the correct. You can't ask somebody, for example, you don't walk up to somebody on the street and say, "Oh, where's the bakery?" You have to say, "Good morning. Where's the bakery? Good afternoon. Can you tell me where the bakery is? Good evening. Which way is the bakery?" If you don't start with that greeting, you're gonna get this.
Just a cultural difference. And I love it.
Hmm. And
But it
then they
forces
might,
you to
and then
slow down too.
they might reply to you like if you were to say, "Where's the bakery?" First, you'll get this. Good morning. The bakery is over there. They'll remind you of your greeting that you did not give. And you'll say, "Oh, I'm sorry. Good morning. Can you tell me where the bakery is?" And then they'll be like, "That's better."
But we forget. I think we get so tied up into like running. You're moving. You're like, what's that? Where's that? I need this. I need that.
Hmm.
And it's just it's great to be somewhere where things slow down. I think that's why people love to vacation there, because it's like once you land, it's peace.
Hmm.
But to have it every day is amazing. Now, were you thinking of any other places other than Jamaica when you were
No,
deciding?
because I wasn't really thinking about it was beyond my concept in my mind that this little girl from Idiot Street in Memphis, Tennessee, could have a home in America and a vacation home in Jamaica. That I could move to another country. I was in the most traditional box as a person could be in. My grandmother was a teacher. My mother was a teacher. My uncle Donald that lived in the house with us was a teacher. My cousin Elizabeth was a teacher. My aunt Maddie was a teacher. I was going to go to college, become a teacher, get married, have two children. I only had one, and be a teacher, retire and die. That was my box, and I saw myself nowhere outside that box. And yet, fate stepped in to make all of those things happen that made me move every single obstacle out of the way. The right person to keep my house in Memphis, the right person to keep my little Yorkies that I left over there that I couldn't bring here, the right people to share this, because I house share over here. Um, that's another concept. We could talk for hours, but I know we always think about, I'm going to get me a house. But I have roommates who come 4 times a year. I am here all year long. We share the expenses of the house, but I get to stay all the time.
Oh, wow.
And we have other intermittent friends who come also, and that makes up the composition of the household. And we all share the expenses. And I'm perfectly happy. My roommate is right out there on the veranda right now. His wife is coming in next week. She sent him early because he's retired. She's not, and he's here, and we're just all one big happy family, and we share the expenses of the house, and that's how I, a retired school teacher, am able to keep my place in Memphis and still have one over here.
Oh, wow.
Because
Now,
this
this
is
is a
goes
good
about finances, right?
it is. And that's one of the big things is looking at unconventional ways of doing things, because someone may be
Mhm.
thinking, okay, I don't know if I can move. Or like you said, in his situation, his wife isn't retired yet. So maybe someone is saying, okay, I'm going to make the leap in a year or maybe 2 years. And if they could find a share, that might be a way that they can come maybe during summer break if they're a school teacher, or come during their vacations and so forth.
So peep this. My girlfriend is a real estate agent here, and I just off the top of my head, she has this one property that's 8 bedrooms and it's not fully finished yet. It needs to be completely finished. 8 bedrooms, $150,000. So what if you and another sister got together and you all had your separate bedrooms? Now you got 6 other bedrooms that you could flex Airbnb, and you could, or long term rent or short term rent. You could make that house pay for you. You could live here in paradise, and you all could make a business out of it.
Oh, how amazing would
Yeah.
that be? Especially, I mean, you think about it, if you got kids, so you're like, okay, well, what can I do? How can I make money abroad? And we're going to talk about that too. Aileen asked a good question. I know a bunch of people are probably thinking, okay, I love Jamaica, but she says, how is
Okay.
hurricane season?
Okay, I'll address that. Homes here are built to a regulation. If you ever see one built, it's really fascinating. It's all cinder blocks, and then inside of each row of cinder blocks is a, a iron rebar that holds the cinder blocks in place, and then they plaster over all the whole thing. So the house that I'm in right now, that you see, is just fine. This house was built in the 60s, and this house has been through Ivan and Gilbert, which were the two big boy hurricanes, right? Still standing. Absolutely nothing wrong with it. If you have a concrete cinder block house, what's going to usually happen is if you have relatives who are in the little board houses or maybe not quite a secure house, they all go to, let's say I'm the person in the family that has, they all come to my house and we ride it out together. And this house is not going anywhere. Even it made it through the big boys. So, now me personally, I've been here through Emily, Dennis, and Michelle. That's three hurricanes that
Mm,
I personally have been through. And all that really happens is the winds are very gusty high and it rains a lot. And they turn the power off as a precaution because if trees were to fall, the electricity is already out. They ask you to bottle you up some water, like you would in any kind of
mhm.
crisis situation. You need to have some flashlights, some batteries, charge up all your stuff, and ride it out. And honestly, it's not that bad. However, I must say that it has been years since one has hit here. For some reason, they kind of tend to veer off of Jamaica and go around Jamaica. So we've been lucky. And yeah, that's a consideration. It is. I'm not going to negate it. But I personally am not worried about it. I'll
But
take a
there's some of the
hurricane.
things
I'll
too.
take a hurricane over racism.
Exactly. Exactly. We've definitely in the past probably 72 hours heard of way more shootings and police brutality than we've heard hurricane. So I love that. ALG asks, do you only pay housing expenses when you're there, or do you all split those kind of year round?
We pay year round because this is our house. We've done a lot of improvements to it. We've done a great deal of work on it. We've gotten it like we like it. And yes, we pay for it year round. However, one of my coworkers from the airport who needed somewhere to stay because he got a divorce and the wife got the house is keeping my house in Memphis. And some people pay people to house sit, right? But he
Hmm.
pays me rent. He pays my utility bill over there, the private garbage collection. So I'm bill free in Memphis. He pays all the bills in Memphis to live there, plus pays me a little rent. When I go home to Memphis twice a year, I pick up an envelope full of money, bring it back over here, hand it to my landlady. I live free.
Oh, nice. How nice. And that's the thing. So, and we talked about this prior to us hitting the live button about like money. So you waited, you were retired, so you were in a
Right.
different situation than some people. But as you talked about people who are there, and so one working in Jamaica, so they're not hiring you as a Jamaican worker, or as a U.S. worker to work in Jamaica, but there are people there who have made a living and generated income. So the real estate is one thing. So that might be one thing where they just
Mhm.
buy a house with a friend and
Mhm.
you do Airbnb or whatever else that you're renting these short-term, long-term rooms, and that could be your income. But what are some of the other ways that people are coming up with some income to continue to live in paradise?
Okay. There is an American gentleman who got a storage facility here in one of our really brand new modern shopping centers. And it's just a big storage space. And he's selling storage bins to tourists who come here seasonally and businesses who might want to store some stuff that they don't have space for at their business. And it's like low maintenance. He has to pay the JPS bill to keep the lights on or whatever. and maybe an attendant to let people in to get their things or whatever. And he's doing really well.
Oh, wow.
Um, we have an African American female here who is from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, who owns a hotel on the 7 Mile Beach. She married a Jamaican gentleman. He passed away. She got the hotel. It has been voted one of the most beautiful black owned hotels in the world by Travel Noir magazine. She
Mm.
has approximately 70 rooms, and it's a really beautiful beach hotel. Okay. On the West End, there's a lady named Jackie Lewis. She owns a fabulous place called Jackie's on the Reef. It's a whole holistic healing, yoga, Zen type place. She does rent some rooms out. She doesn't have a tremendous amount of rooms, but her place is so fabulous. Oprah Winfrey once wrote about it,
Ooh.
and it's when you walk into the gates, there's a feeling, a vibe there. There's everything changes, and it's just absolutely a magical, mystical place. And that's one of your sisters from New York City. There's a sister from California, Deborah Barrett, who owns 2 locations of the Negril soap factory. And what she makes is handmade custom soaps, and a lot of her products, such as cannabis oil, CBD oil, etc. I use one of them. It kind of helps you settle down to go to sleep. It won't keep you sleep all night long, if you're a tosser turner, but it'll help you initially to settle down and go to sleep and soothe you and calm you. And it has a lot of medicinal things. She's got 2 locations, one in on the West End and one on the Beach Road. And she's doing extremely well. She can't even keep the stuff on the shelf. It's just
Oh,
flying off
wow.
the shelf. So I would say this. Um, of course, like the big thing that's going on now is remote work. If you can secure one of those jobs where your employer doesn't matter, you working from a foreign country, this would be a great place for you to come and do that and still draw that American money. But if you have the wherewithal to invest and start a business, this is a good place to start a business. And there are black women in business here that you could follow in their footsteps, so to speak. You just need to find that. One thing I know that would make some money right off the bat, we need a laundromat on the beach road for these people who come on vacation and need somewhere to wash and dry their clothes. And they're staying at Airbnbs, not necessarily at a hotel. Well, in a hotel, even still, they don't do your personal
Hmm.
laundry. But some of them stay a little bit longer term. But it has to be on the beach road because a lot of them are all over the town, but not on the beach road. That's the one that would make the money. Okay,
So,
so
somebody out there, get your
yeah,
team together.
and then of course, like I said, there's always the Airbnbs because that's pretty much a good one to go into, especially if you offer that little something different. There's a girl from Canada who opened up a taco place here, Nikki's Tacos. Because that was the one cuisine we didn't have in town. And then there's some girls that opened up a place called Spritzers that sells wine spritzers, and another lady who opened up one called Neil's Pickles, and she does these bloody Caesars with her homemade pickles. You have to have that little gimmick,
Just a little something
you know what I'm
different.
saying? Yeah, that little gimmick. But there are a lot of foreigners who do business in this town and do pretty darn well. So if you got a head for business, this would be a good place for you to think about.
And so that's a good point because one, somebody might have an idea, and it may be cheaper to take your idea to Jamaica than New York or Atlanta or
The
Houston or one
government
of
is
these
going
more
to
expensive
government is
places.
going to give you breaks for if you hire Jamaicans in your business, you're going to get breaks, and you also the labor cost. Unfortunately, is the labor cost is very low here because it's just the standard. I know you as an African American want to come here and do better, and you can. You can pay your people a little bit better, but jobs here do not come with benefits. Like you don't have to deal with Social Security or retirement incomes or um, hospitalization insurance, death insurance. None of that. It's straight salary. So you can come here and go into business, and your overhead cost is going to be very low basically because of your labor structure. But you can, as a boss, you can really do what you want to do. The lady I mentioned who has the hotel. She does really well by her workers. She's found a lot of ways to compensate for that salary base, and she's lauded as one of the most humanitarian people in town. And I can speak for that also, that she's really a wonderful person. So you can design your own life here. You don't have to just fall into the norm.
I love that. And so, in terms of for people who might be working remotely, or maybe they're going to come over and start a business, how easy is it to get a longer term visa? Or, do you have like citizenship? Like, what does that process look like? And what's typical, especially for people who are going to stay a little longer?
You would apply for a permanent residency with a work permit. You would get the permanent residency from the PICA office and the work permit from the Department of Labor. And it's a process. Okay, my permanent residency took me 4 months to get, but I did get it. I did not get it with a work permit. I got it under the category of retired. And you would get your labor from the labor department. You would get your permission to work. It is a task, but it is not impossible. And you only have to do it once, and then you just renew it. You're good. Okay, but yeah, you, that's what you would do.
And so it's definitely possible. So I think that's one of the things in
It's
terms of
possible.
what are some of the
Mhm.
basics. So you were retired or you can start a business. Are there other ways that people, so they're saying, okay, maybe they're still working or maybe they're just going to take a career break. Are there visa options for them?
Well, for that person, you could only come for 90 days, and then you could get an extension. The most you can do in one calendar year is 6 months.
Okay.
Okay, and then the now what you can do is straddle that so that maybe you come 6 months before 2023 ends, and then when 2024 starts, you got a new 6 months. See what
Hmm.
I'm saying? But you get 6 months in a calendar year, so you can arrange that any kind of way you wish,
So
but you
that's
have to
something
stay
to
within
think
those limits. Right, right.
about, plan through. And then this is probably the question that everyone asks. I'm surprised nobody has asked this one yet. Because people are like, well, what about healthcare? What am I going to do if I need to go to the hospital? What am I going to do for my medications and all those kind of things? What should people be prepared for in terms of healthcare?
Okay. Um, Negril used to not be a lot of people's choice because we were a drive away from the nearest hospital. You had to either go that way to South Lamar or that way to Montego Bay. As of about 8 months ago, a state of the art 24-hour hospital has opened right on Norman Manley Boulevard. It is exactly 2.5 miles from my house. I could walk to the hospital if I needed to. Okay. And it's got the what you call it, MRI machine, X-ray, the whole nine, got everything you need. And it's 24 hours. So there's the facility. Now, your next question is going to be you can get expat health insurance. And on both of my groups, expats in the grill and capital or casual in the grill Jamaica, in the featured section, I have an article about this. And it even has the name of the man to call and the name of the insurance company. But my girlfriend is here living full time, and she's in her 60s, and her expat health insurance premiums are under $200 a month.
Oh my
So
goodness.
now you're covered. Yeah, and so now you're covered with health insurance. But let's look at an alternative. A girlfriend of mine did this, and I thought this was so brilliant. She got her doctors in St. Louis, Missouri, to find a cadre of doctors in Miami, Florida. Like if you needed an OBGYN, a general practitioner, a dentist, whatever, doctor you need. He referred her to doctors in Miami, transferred her medical records over. She spent a week in Miami going to visit each of these doctors and establishing a relationship with them and filling out the new patient paperwork. And then she went on to Jamaica. Anything goes wrong with her, she's a 1 hour flight away from doctors in the US and her US medical health insurance. Oh.
See, that's something else just to think about. I love that someone says, how are medication costs in comparison to the
Hmm.
states? Now, I was shocked. I had to get some allergy meds the other day, and I was like, wait, what? Did y'all use the insurance? So what are like medication costs as you
Okay,
compare
I'm
them to
on
what people
medication.
pay?
Well, I'm on medication for high blood pressure. Let's just use my high blood pressure one, okay? My medicine, 3 months worth of it in the dollars and something, right? That's all it is, $3 and something. Okay, so when I see that I'm running out, I get a friend in the US to go to the pharmacy, fill the prescription for me. I find somebody who's on their way to Jamaica, which is somebody coming. I have 22,000 people on my Facebook group. And I can just get out there and say, "Oh, who's coming next week?" And they'll say, "I'm coming, Misty. What you need? Let me send you this address. Give me your address. Would you bring my medicine to me?" Sure, no problem. I have my roommate shoot it to them. They bring it to me down here. I'm good.
Oh wow. And it's just thinking about that, but I think one of the bigger things, and even to kind of talk through your groups again, is community. Because like you said, oftentimes in the States you don't feel seen because we're like, I
Mhm.
got my house, I got my bills, I got to go to work, I got to take care of my business, and people don't have that same sense of community. But you've built that community there in the grill, and so you have your two groups. Tell us a little bit about what the groups do, and what's the purpose, and kind of, people are like, well, should I join this one or this one? What can they expect to get from the groups as well?
Okay. So Capital of Casual Negril, Jamaica, that's the one with 22,000 people in it. Basically my concept with that group was I wanted to be a voice for primarily the black owned and operated small Jamaican businesses, eat, work, play, restaurants, bars, hotels that are black Jamaican owned. Okay. Um, and so what I want that tourist dollar to do when it comes into this town, into Negril, is not be spent at the Reu and send the money back to Spain. I want you to stay at Treehouse, Travelers, Rondell Village, which is really precious. Um, Rayon, there are some, Shirella. There are so many beautiful black-owned and Jamaican-owned boutique hotels here. And once people stay in them, they say, "Why was I staying in those? Why was I even staying in those places?" They really love it. And the beach is better. All of those olive, they have crappy beaches, those big places. They have crappy beaches. So they love it more. So I'm trying to steer that tourist dollar toward Jamaican people so it stays in this country and it creates generational wealth for black people here in Jamaica rather than making Spain rich. We got some Trumpers that got businesses here.
I'm
Yeah.
not surprised.
I mean,
Yeah.
seriously. And I try to steer people right away from them and right into somebody else's arms, right? So that's what Capital Casual does. Black expats started out sort of as a selfish venture of my own because I wanted to increase the black people who were seriously considering the grill as a location to relocate. Why? So I would have more playmates.
You're like, I'm gonna find some friends.
I'm gonna make me a village. So I started with that core of those women that I talked to you about that are already here and successful. And I'm trying to attract primarily Black Americans to come here and make this different. I have found a happiness here that I can't even really describe for you, and a peace. And I'm so very happy here. And I'm not that person who, oh, I got my house. I got my happiness. I'm good. I don't care about the rest of y'all. I'm not that girl. I'm not that one. I'm like, this is great. Let me share it. So that's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to let people know because they think of Negril as a vacation destination. They don't think of it as a living destination.
Mhm.
But here I am, 13 years, living happy, healthy. I have some health issues, but when I go back to the States, my doctor tells me, listen, I don't know what you're doing over there or what they're doing for you, what you eating, what you drinking, but go on back. Get on the plane and go home because it's working for you. So I come back. Yeah, so that's what Black Expats does. I'm trying to give you the courage to let go of all of those fears of relocating in the United States. Make a plan. I didn't make a plan. I honestly just stumbled into this. But I would tell other people, let's make a plan. I have a young lady living next door to me right now who's here for about her 10th day. She has arrived with her 6 suitcases and all of her stuff to get her permanent residency. She's trying to find her sea legs. She's trying to find her tribe. She's trying to find her peace. She's trying to get it together because it's scary. But I'm here
Mhm.
for her, and I'm not going to let her fail. I'm not going to let her fail. I have another one coming in September, another one coming in November. People are starting to move here, and I am thrilled.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah.
And that's the thing, because I think that's probably the biggest fear is, people are like, okay, how am I gonna take my life that I'm used to and accustomed to in the States
Mhm.
and take that to another country that I might not know anybody? And I think that's too, and you might share, because especially this was many years ago, people might say, hey mom, I'm thinking about leaving, or hey friend, I'm thinking about leaving. They're like, don't go there. What did your family say when you were like, yeah, I'm leaving. I'm not coming back.
Well, my family, to be honest with you, um, I had a large family, but they are mostly all deceased now. My daughter, a lot of people, well, I got to stay for my daughter and my grandkids. My daughter showed me she up and moved to Tokyo, Japan with the love of her life. And my grandchildren live in Tokyo, Japan with their mother. So she didn't stay in the box either. She broke the top out the box. And she's been living in Japan for as long as I've been living over here. So we've got it. We're international, So it was really. I figured it wasn't much she could say since she went to Japan, but my family wasn't when they were living. They were against it. They didn't like it, but they said if it made me happy, they were okay with it.
I think that's a big thing is getting over that. And I remember we did an interview a few weeks back, and someone said she didn't tell anybody. So she left and didn't tell people till 6 months later. And so I guess by then you've made the decision,
She
you're
didn't want to hear
settled.
it. She didn't want to hear it. She didn't want to hear the naysayers. She didn't want to hear all the. She didn't want to hear all the dumb stuff. She didn't want to hear it. Yeah, I don't blame her. That was a great way to do it.
And especially having that community to reach out to. So joining that expats in the grill Facebook group so you can say, hey, I'm thinking about it. It's not going to be your usual circle at home that says, don't go there. That's scary, all those kind of things. So people will say, well, when I went, I did this, or these are the neighborhoods to look for, or if you have kids, or if you're young or single, or whatever that might be, this might be some places you want to look out for. And so, especially for people who might say, I've vacationed in Jamaica a bunch of times, which I don't know anybody who's vacationed in Jamaica and they were like, I didn't like it. Like everyone who's ever been to Jamaica, like, I love this place. I could be here forever. But I
Mm-hmm.
think that's the problem is people think of it as just a vacation place. Like once you land, you're like, oh, everything is great. The water is beautiful. The weather is amazing. And then you're like, wait, people live here. Like actual.
Well, let me say this in my case. Since I'm retired and I don't have to work, I get the best of both worlds. I get to play and frolic. I go to the beach any day I want to, and I just hang out on the beach all day at my girlfriend's hotel and get waited on hand and foot, order food, order breakfast, order drinks, just chill, get in the ocean and swim, look at the little tourists, talk to people. I see a group of Black American women. I'm going over there. Hey, sisters, how are you? And they go, we're fine. How are you? And I said, where you all from? Oh, she's from Chicago. She's from Atlanta. She's from so and so. Where are you from? I said, and this is where I get them. I said, well, I'm from Memphis, Tennessee, but I've been living here for 13 years. That's it.
And people are like, what?
You live here? Oh, sit down. Tell us when you did this. And by the end of the day, I got a whole new group of friends. I'm never bored. I always have something to do. We have major entertainment artists that come here and put on Jamaican artists that put on concerts. Um, there's somewhere to go out every night. There's a party, there's a designated party place if you're a party person. You can go out every night. There's 184 restaurants in town. And sometimes, although I have a house, I'll just pick a hotel, anywhere in the country and just go check in the hotel and stay for about 2 or 3 days.
Ugh.
Yeah.
just to
It's
get away. Simone says she's so inspired. She's moving up her Blacksit date. She said she has started feeling very scary in the US.
don't
So
be
she
afraid.
wants
Yeah.
to go
Oh,
to a
okay.
much
Yeah. Yeah.
smaller Caribbean island. So Simone, go ahead, go search
Simone,
expats in the grill.
join at Black Expats in the Grill, and even if you don't choose the grill, like say you want to do Montego Bay or Kingston or Portland, we'll help you transition and get settled. And there are other Black expat groups, on the internet. There's one specifically for Montego Bay. It's brand new. She just got started. And then there's another one for the younger people. What's it called? Ex Black Exodus Living Local, something like that. So there are several Jamaica oriented Black expat groups now because we are trying to. Let me say this real quick. Um, the proximity to America is great. You are 2 hours and 35 minutes away from Atlanta. Okay, so if you need to get back home because you have left some elderly back home, or nieces and nephews, or grandma needs you, or something like that, just like that, you can get home quickly. So you all are in Portugal and wherever, think about that. You see what I'm saying? Um, all right, it's an English speaking country. A lot of these people that are going to certain places, I wonder, do y'all speak Spanish? I mean, I'm just wondering, do you speak French? Maybe Italian? You go. It sounds wonderful, but do you speak the language? It's an English speaking country. Um, It is affordable regardless of what they tell you. My utility bill month before last was $110. The following month it was $48.
Oh
It
wow.
fluctuates, but it's still nowhere near what I was paying for utilities in Memphis. Your stove that you cook on runs off of propane gas, and a cylinder costs $25, and mine lasts me 3 months. I mean,
Mm.
I'm trying to figure out what it is that's supposed to be so ungodly expensive about living here.
See, and that's a good point. Aileen
Mhm.
just said she requested to join. She hadn't actually considered Jamaica until now because so many expats are talking about Mexico or further down in South America. So it's a really good point for people who are like, I still
Okay.
want to be close. I'm concerned about going too far. Jamaica's just right there.
I I don't want to speak ill of another country in, trying to convince you to come to my country. But I had a girlfriend who tried Mexico. She actually wanted to come to Jamaica, but she went to Mexico. Guess why? Because she could get her dog in easier. Because it's a little more difficult to get the dog into Jamaica because Jamaica's more careful. And so she went to Mexico. She never went out during the day because she said it was too hot. She could not take it. She could not bear it. So she was stuck in the house all day. And then in the afternoon, when it cooled off, she would try to go out. She said the beach was beautiful, but she couldn't get in the water for the sargassum, the seaweed
Hmm.
that's eating it. She said they don't show you that on the pictures. So our beaches are pristine and beautiful, and the water is just like a little smooth swimming. The 7 Mile Beach in Negril is consistently voted one of the top 10 beaches in the entire world per National Geographic magazine and TripAdvisor. So that beach is kind of what eventually the biggest thing that got me. So proximity, English speaking country, affordable. Now, you haven't asked me, but I'm going to throw it out there. The crime in Jamaica. Yes, we do have crime. You have crime everywhere. Real quickly, not taking up a lot of your time, the Jamaica Department of whatever police did research on the crime picture. 79% of the crime in Jamaica is criminal on criminal crime, meaning that this is inner gang stuff, inner scammer stuff, inner the bad guys dealing with each other. Okay. So if you're not one of those persons or associated with one of those persons or running in that circle or involved in that circle, the chances of that 79% hitting you are very low. Unfortunately, the next big chunk is domestic violence. Uh, this is a very, I don't know how I want to put it. The men here are very macho. I don't understand. And you don't leave them real easy. You know, the boyfriend girlfriend thing, the divorce thing, and you know they don't like being left. And so unfortunately, a big chunk of that is domestic violence. That part that's left over for the mythical, you're this person from another country and somebody's going to come hurt you, is so small that it's infinitesimal. There are literally thousands of returning Jamaicans and thousands of other people who live here beautifully and peacefully in this country. So I'm not saying there is not a crime problem, but I am saying that it's not the picture you think. And also, it's not in the grill. A great amount of it is Montego Bay and Kingston and Clarendon, not Westmoreland per se. That's the parish we're in. See, just like anywhere, you're gonna go live in the better section of whatever. You're not gonna go right in the heart of the you know the part where the State Department has told you the most stuff happens, right? You're not gonna go move in there. So you're gonna move in where you feel relatively safe. And I have been here 13 years. I have been the victim of crime. Yes, I have. Um, it was some petty theft, and then one that was a little bit serious, but that one was my fault because I was hanging in the wrong vehicle with the wrong license plate on it. I let my guard down, and I wasn't in a red plated vehicle. You should always ride a red plated vehicle, and so that one was on me. But as you can see, I'm sitting here talking to you, so
Yeah, and Aileen says a good point, and we were talking about this before. She said it's good to know since the U.S. propaganda is everywhere, but here it's scary. And we were talking about just crime overall, and here in D.C. in the last 24 hours, they said I think it's two teenagers were killed, and like 5 or 6 people were shot. And so it's like these are stats, literally, in a 10-mile radius versus in an entire country. And so it's just how things are portrayed. So sometimes it's good,
so
like
excuse
you
you, I'm from
said.
Memphis, Tennessee. We number 3 in the country. On Memorial Day weekend, we killed 17 people.
And it's like to put those things into perspective, like
I
those
told you
numbers
150,
are
70,
crazy.
70 people in one calendar year and 80 people in the other. 150 people were shot from bridge overpasses on the expressway in Memphis for sport, for fun. So, hello.
It's scary. It's definitely scary, but I mean, like you said, to put things into perspective. And,
Mm-hmm.
if you think about how many times in the States your car might get broken into, or,
Right.
your house might get broken into, or whatever it might be, like over 13 years, you've had two incidents. That's not too bad.
Yeah.
That's,
So,
it's
Rosa, let me
giving.
say this to you. I really like me. I really do like me. I like me a lot. And I'm not going to put me in harm's way. And I'm not going to try to convince you to come to harm's way with me. If I'm telling you to come here, I am relatively sure that I'm gonna be able to keep you safe and that you're gonna be just fine. Now you're gonna have to use your head. You can't go run around with every little Tom, Dick, and Harry that you run across. But your mama told you that when she was raising you, now didn't she?
So you already know that.
You already
This is
know that.
nothing new.
You have to take the same common sense that your mommy told you from time you would knee high to a frog and bring it over here with you. You can't just lose your head because you see a coconut. Oh, look, coconuts.
Now, and I think we talked about this before, but I don't know if we went over like some of the numbers. So you talked about your utilities, you talked a little bit about like medical expenses. So as
Mhm.
people are putting their spreadsheet together and they're like, okay, how much money do we need to make? What should people realistically think about in terms of like a rent or just overall, food and those kind of things? Just a
You
base.
can get a rent for as low as $400 a month here, up to a high of $2,000 a month, depending on the amenities that you wish and the location and the size. A lot of people like 2-bedroom places. So you can go anywhere from a low of 400 up to about 2,000, for the hardwood floors, granite countertops, stainless steel appliances, the shiplap black splash, the look you have in America. You can get that here, but you're gonna pay for it.
Hmm.
Hmm.
But on at the $400 lane, that might be just enough to get people started and settled, because that might be where people start just to figure out, okay, is this the neighborhood I want to be in? Do I want to stay in Jamaica? That kind of thing. That
Yeah,
might be where people
I have a
start
young
somewhere
lady
in
who's there right
between.
now. She's in an apartment, exploring her options, trying to see if this is even where she wants to be. And you can't tell that until you do it.
Hmm.
Yeah, you have to do it.
And I think that's, you talked about that. What should people plan for? So if they're going to come, they're going to, one, join the group. So they're going to join the Facebook group. They're going to reach out to
Mhm.
people. They're going to figure out what city they want to go in. How long should be the minimum to come and explore and figure out
I
if this
think
is the
3 months. I think
place?
you ought to give yourself 3 months. And that's an easy stamp in the airport. They're gonna pretty much give you 3 months. So I would take my whole 3 months, and I probably my first 2 to 3 weeks, I wouldn't even worry about it. I would just enjoy myself like if I was on vacation. And then for the next few weeks, I'd probably get a little more serious and start looking around and put my nose to the ground and start making some inquiries. You can ask your drivers; they're always a great resource. Or come ask one of us. I mean, we're here. We're here. We could maybe help you find some place. But I say you could always get on Airbnb and find a nice Airbnb
Mm-hmm.
for that length of time. This is not your permanent home while you look to see what's out there that you might think you want to do. I have a group member who is a Jamaican lady, and she's a real estate agent, and she's got her pulse on all the real estate in the area. So she helps a lot of my members get situated. We have a couple here from Atlanta, Georgia. He's a preacher and she's a retired doctor. They took this property that nobody wanted to buy, Deep West End, hired the best architect in town, the man who built that hospital I told you about.
Mm-hmm.
Took that place apart and put it back together. Girl, I wish you could see it. Ooh. The swimming pool is made like a dolphin.
Oh, wow.
And the pool house has 3 bedrooms in it, and the main house has 5 bedrooms.
Oh my goodness. So they're just living, especially living a lavish life, and I'm quite sure way less than what they would be living in Atlanta.
Yeah, they are actually renting it out. They rented the pool house out, and then they're renting out the main house. They're Airbnb in it. They went on back to Atlanta after they fixed it up. They went on back to Atlanta. It's an investment for them. See, I'm telling you, we over here, we got it going on. We ain't come over here playing.
And in reality, I mean, Jamaica is one of
Mhm.
those places, it's not a seasonal place because people want to go down in the wintertime because they want to get away from the cold. They want to go down in the summertime because they got the time off and they can take their kids. It's a year round destination. Are there any restrictions on either Americans owning property
No,
or,
you can own property.
renting out?
No, you
Okay.
can own property.
And that's a big thing too, because in some places you can't own unless you're a citizen. So
Now,
that's
what
a
would
big.
make me nervous is a young lady did this too. A retired COVID nurse from California came here. She bought a big piece of property, and then she sold it and decided instead to buy this piece of property that had a semi-finished house on it. And she took that place and fixed it up and retrofitted it to what she wanted. Then she applied for her permanent residency. Now, I don't know too many people that get turned down for permanent residency, but God, I would have been nervous. Like I would think, wow, I put all this
Did
money
all
in
that.
this place, and now my fate is in these people's hands. What if they say no? But
And then you got this property.
yeah, she got it. She got her permanent residency. So yeah, I mean, I've seen all kinds of things happen here, but a lot of people step out on faith. When we break out of the box, I think we sort of break out kind of bold. We lose our fear that America has instilled in us, and we just decide to go for it. I'm just gonna go for it. Because the couple I told you about with the fabulous home, they don't have permanent residency yet.
So they're just like, all right, it's going to work out.
It's gonna work out.
And I think the bigger thing too, just going back to understanding who do you call? Because I think sometimes if you stay in the place that you were born, you were raised, you know where the grocery store is, you know where the doctors are. If you need somebody, you can text and say, hey, I need another, I need a specialist or whatever. But understanding the community that you have and the community that you've built that can give that same sense of community, that same resource that if they're like, okay, I don't know, like things like transportation. So should they come prepared to drive or should they have a driver? Should they be prepared to get a car? Like, what are the best ways to even get around the country or the city overall? Should they get a
Well,
moped?
um, no, I have drivers, and I have drivers that take me where I want to go, and it costs roughly $6 to go somewhere and $6 to come back. And your driver also serves as, some woman alone. I'm a single lady. They pick me up at my door, take me where I'm going safely. I go to my luncheon, my event, whatever. I call them, they come pick me back up, and they always bring me to my door, wait until I open my grills, lock myself back in, see that I'm secure, and then they leave like a gentleman does. Sees you safely inside. So it's worth every bit of that $6, you know. Now, not having a car, I have eliminated car insurance. I have eliminated gas. Gas is expensive over here. I've eliminated. You know how as a woman, when you have a broken alternator and you go to the mechanic shop, you know how to
Mhm.
take advantage of us. Try that over here. It's gonna be worse. So
Oh
I don't
God.
have to deal with the part isn't here. We got to send for the part from America, and oh, you bought the model that they don't have the da 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 for, and all that. No, and getting the driver's license, and then they have another thing here. You have to get called ready for the road certificate. Look, I call
Just don't
Kwame.
do it.
Kwame picks me up. It costs me $6. I go where I got to go. I pay Kwame. He brings me back home. It costs me $6.
And
I
you
was
can't beat that.
like,
Yeah. The convenience of it in and of itself is nice. Now,
oh, and I have a housekeeper, and my
oh,
house is immaculate at all times. I
mm,
don't I do not I do not clean floors. I don't do laundry. I don't fold laundry. I don't put it away. I don't change my bed linens. I don't sweep. I don't mop. I don't have to do any of that. I have a gardener.
what?
He my yard looks like a botanical gardens. It's beautiful. And I have a gardener that comes twice a week. I have a guy that comes on Sunday and rakes up all the leaves. And then I have other occasional help that chop the bush and all this kind of stuff. And all of these people are on payroll, and it doesn't, and I'm still living off a retired teacher's salary.
Oh
I'm
my, if you
a
ain't sold by then, I'm thinking about, I still got to clean this, get some clothes out the dryer, and
I don't dust. I don't do any, baby. When I wake up in the
just enjoy
morning,
life.
my biggest dilemma is whether I'm going to the beach or not. And if I decide I'm going to the beach, the big problem is what color swimsuit am I possibly going to wear and which cover up. That's it.
That's the kind of stress I need. That's
It's so stressful.
that's the kind of stress I need. That's the kind of stress we all need. Like that's the most stressful decision you're gonna make is red swimsuit, maybe black swimsuit.
So, having said that, I need to hit up on the fact that my group, Capital Casual and Black Expats, we have a tremendous community outreach. Real quickly, we have stock library shelves with primarily books with Black children pictures. We feel that Black children need to see themselves in books.
Mm-hmm.
And those books are expensive. And, like whatever the one about, she looked up at Michelle Obama's picture portrait. Okay, those are the books we bought. And we stocked the whole library with books. We send children back to school with backpacks and school supplies that they need to go back to school. We found out that the girls in two of our communities were using paper towels for sanitary pads. No more. They are stocked. We have stocked all the schools with panties so that if you had an accident at school, you need some panties to put on, brand new panties. Schools are all stocked. My group did that.
Mm.
When COVID hit, we found out that they were using gloves from one patient to the other because they didn't have enough
Mhm.
gloves. The government really couldn't supply them with the gloves they needed. My group saw to it that South Lamar Hospital no more reusing gloves from one patient to the other. The masks, we sent the masks there. We sent disposable scrubs to protect the
Mm.
staff from COVID. We have filled the ambulances here with supplies they need that they can't seem to get. Uh,
Mm.
we have every 3 weeks we patronize a Jamaican farmer who raises chickens. We buy his chickens and we distribute them to people who don't have food. There's a
Oh,
group
I love
called
it.
Hope for Hunger. Through my house, 15, 20, 30 grocery bags filled with enough food to fill a family for a week go out all the time. Um, I can't even think of all of it. Oh, one of my members decided to have her baby here in the public hospital rather than go back to the States and have her baby. She was appalled when she saw young mothers taking their babies home wrapped up in their t-shirt because they had no diapers, no clothes, no nothing. That doesn't happen anymore because of my group, Capital of Casual. Babies leave that hospital with complete layette. There's no more
Mm.
naked babies leaving that hospital anymore. And all I have to do is tell, I got 22,000 people on there, hey, we need this. And don't you know my folks bring it? They
Oh, I
bring it.
love it.
Yeah.
Well, if
So
y'all planning a trip, check it out just to see what you can take down there
yeah,
too.
I have to say that because I'm sitting here talking about how beautiful my life is and how lazy I can be and how I don't have to do anything. But I want you to know I'm down here
You
doing the work.
working.
I'm down here doing the work. And that I'm not taking it for granted and I'm not taking from Jamaica and not giving back. We give back big time. And
And I
I
think that's
love this
huge. That's
country with
the
all my
impact of like, you giving back actually feeds you too. And so
yes.
it's huge just to be able to feel like you're doing more. So even if you're retiring early, so you can find purpose, so you
Mhm.
can give back, you can make the country that much better, that much more wealthy and healthy and educated and strong just by bringing the community together. And that's what we're supposed to do. So say the group's names one more time because I want to make
Okay.
sure that all of y'all go through, click join today.
Okay. The black expats in the grill is my new baby. I only have 1,100 members, and I would like for it to just be much, much bigger. And Capital of Casual Negril, Jamaica on Facebook. They're both on Facebook. I'm sorry, I'm not an Instagram girl. I have to get Instagram. And it has 22,300 members. And we would love to have you. We really would. I think if you even slightly like the Caribbean, you would enjoy learning about Jamaica because it is a wonderful country.
We got a couple people who've already said that they've joined. So we plan. I'm joining too. Somebody said she was in Jamaica in December, so she wished she knew about the group. Girl, go back. Join anyway. You
Please
going
come back.
back.
We'd love to have you.
And I'm so happy that you joined us because I think sometimes we don't think about certain vacation destinations as home. Like it's paradise, but we're like, oh, people actually make this home. They live
I,
here. They love
I
it here.
have this T-shirt that I just adore. It says, "I live where you vacation."
And it's one of those things you're like, people actually live here. People that aren't Jamaicans live here. And the how, the why, the community, the resources, all of those things sit within your group, so it's 100% more accessible for somebody just because of the work that you've done. So I want to thank you for the work that you do. And if you all are
You're
going
welcome.
to Jamaica, so KB, if you're going back, let her check, see what you can
And if you
bring
come
back.
to the grill, on Facebook, I'm Misty Memphis. If you come to the grill, message me. I would love to meet you. We can
Perfect.
sit on the beach and talk.
I'm like, I need to be in the grill. I'm tired already. It's stressful already. Somebody said that's a merchandise income stream right there. Just some of the stuff that you could be selling. And that's once again, Aileen, girl, you could be selling the merchandise. Go down there. You got a business idea right there. So I want to thank everyone for joining us. Thank you so much for being with us on this Juneteenth. So if you are not feeling free today, you are free. And so reach out to all the resources that exist in order for you to really capitalize on your freedom. Misty, thank you so much.
You're
I'm
most
like loving your story. And
Thank
I'm
you.
joining your group too. So I hope to see y'all over in Misty's groups. And I have dropped the names in the chat as well. So if you want to scroll back up, you'll be able to see the names in the chat. So
Thank
you'll
you.
be able to join as well.
And everybody who's joining, add some friends.
Yes. So until next time, I want you all to have a great day. And I hope to see y'all in Negril.
Bye-bye.
Bye.